Welcome to the deep dive. You gave us a stack of sources detailing the absolute cutting edge of medical
That's a
research.
pretty thick stack, yeah.
And our mission today is simple, really. It's to deliver your shortcut to the next 5 years of healthcare breakthroughs.
We're talking about the clinical trials that are slated to redefine everything.
Everything from, massive global health crises to the most aggressive, historically untreatable cancers.
We really did get a widespread. We're looking at 11 pivotal trials, and what's crucial is that the results for all of them are expected to land right around 2026.
That's why this is so important. This isn't theoretical research in a lab somewhere.
Not at all. This is the final lap.
These are therapies that will soon be approved. Our sources cover everything from long-lasting TB vaccines to a molecular glue that literally stops cancer growth signals.
And if you look across all of them, there's a clear theme connecting them. Medicine is shifting toward durability, precision, and finding these highly targeted interventions.
So we've structured this deep dive to take you through these shifts, starting with defenses against major global threats.
All right, let's unpack that. Let's start with an ancient enemy that is still absolutely devastating: tuberculosis.
Yeah.
The sources are stark on this. They note that TB is still a massive global issue. We're talking roughly 10.8 million people becoming ill and around 1.25 million deaths in 2023 alone.
It's a tragedy, really, because we have the century-old BCG vaccine, but its usefulness is severely limited.
Right. It works in young kids, but that's about it.
Exactly. It protects young children from severe disease, but the protection fades quickly. And critically, it offers almost no reliable protection to adolescents and adults, the very group most likely to spread it.
So a better vaccine isn't just a health win. It's a massive epidemiological intervention.
A huge one.
And that's where the M72A/S01E vaccine comes in.
Yeah.
It's in a big phase 3 trial right now with 20,000 participants. And what makes this so promising is the earlier phase 2B data. It was genuinely remarkable.
What did it show?
It showed a 50% reduction in progression to active pulmonary TB. And this was in people who were already IgR positive.
So for the listener, IgR positive just means they already had a hidden latent TB infection.
Precisely. Which is huge. It means the vaccine isn't just preventing initial infection, it's stopping the latent infection from becoming active and contagious.
Yeah.
If this phase 3 trial confirms that, it would fundamentally change global control efforts.
Okay, so moving from the battle against bacteria to viruses, let's look at HIV. Specifically, this idea of giving patients a long-term break from daily medication.
Right, so current antiretroviral therapy, or RT, is miraculous. It suppresses the virus to undetectable levels.
But it doesn't eliminate it.
It doesn't. It leaves behind this tiny pool of hidden infected cells. Scientists call it the viral reservoir. If you stop the daily pills, the virus almost always rebounds.
So to challenge that, we have the A.I.O trial, a huge collaboration with Rockefeller, Imperial, and Oxford, and they're testing long-acting antibodies.
And this is the real game changer. For participants who could stop their daily meds, 75% of those who got the antibodies still hadn't needed to restart daily medication after 5 months.
Wow. And what about the placebo group?
Only 11%. But even more compelling, some participants were able to stay off their daily treatment for nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years.
Imagine what that means for quality of life, for privacy, for millions of people. It's incredible.
That is truly remarkable. Okay, let's switch to a viral threat that's getting more attention now, Lassa fever.
Yeah, a viral hemorrhagic illness, a bit like Ebola or Marburg.
And the WHO has flagged it as a major threat, right? With
Yeah.
something like 100,000 to 300,000 infections a year.
Yeah, and what stands out in the sources about Lassa is the human impact, especially in West Africa. The effect on maternal health is it's devastating.
Yes, so.
Over 80% of late-term Lassa infections result in either maternal or fetal death. That number alone tells you the stakes. It's also why the U.S. classifies it as a Category A bioterrorism threat. There's no approved treatment.
And that desperation, I guess, leads to innovation. The Lassa vaccine candidate, it's got this totally unique approach.
It's brilliant.
It combines protection against both Lassa fever and rabies in one shot.
It's tackling 2 deadly neglected diseases at the same time, which from a public health logistics view is just genius.
Yeah.
And the early data shows strong immune responses. All participants developed antibodies after 2 doses.
From immediate threats, let's turn to the slow-moving killers, chronic diseases. And here there's a discovery that's forcing us to completely rethink how we treat the heart.
Yes, this is a critical paradigm shift in cardiovascular science. For decades, it was all about cholesterol.
Right.
And while cholesterol is still critical, research has now proven that inflammation drives cardiovascular disease independently of cholesterol levels. This was shown in earlier work blocking a protein called interleukin-1, or IL-1.
Okay, so if inflammation is the independent driver, the question becomes, how do we block it most effectively?
That's the next logical step. Researchers noticed that the biggest benefit from blocking IL-1 came in people whose downstream inflammatory marker, IL-6, fell the most. So the new strategy is to target IL-6 directly.
And that's the focus of these big trials, like the ZOUS study.
Exactly. The ZUS trial is testing IL-6 inhibition in patients with atherosclerosis, kidney disease, but who also have what the sources call residual inflammatory risk, which is basically measured by high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, or hsCRP.
This raises a really important question for you listening. If inflammation is a separate driver of heart disease, doctors need to measure it.
They do. And the sources make a strong call for universal screening for hsCRP at the same time we screen for LDL cholesterol.
Wait, universal screening, doesn't that risk, over-treating a massive number of people?
Well, they acknowledge that challenge, but the point is that combining a lipid-lowering drug plus an anti-inflammatory drug only helps if we know who has that inflammatory risk.
So you're not treating everyone.
You're not. You're identifying the high-risk subgroup whose disease is driven by inflammation. If ZOS confirms that this works, the cost of screening is tiny compared to the cost of a heart attack or a stroke. It's about tailored therapy.
That totally reframes it. And speaking of cholesterol, there's this missing link that's been so hard to treat. Lipoprotein A, or LPA.
Right. LPA is this specific, sticky kind of cholesterol particle that's strongly linked genetically to heart attacks and strokes. And for decades, diet and statins couldn't touch it.
So now we have the LPA Horizon trial, which is the first big trial testing a therapy specifically designed to lower this particle, pelacarsen.
And pelacarsen is designed to knock down LPA production by about 80%. I mean, that is a huge drop. We expect results around 2026, and if it's successful, this could open a brand new frontier in heart disease prevention.
Now we get to the precision revolution, where medicine gets surgical at the molecular level. Let's start with pancreatic cancer.
One of the most aggressive cancers. Nearly 95% of cases are driven by a mutation in a gene called KRAS.
And KRAS has been this, holy grail for scientists for 40 years. It's the always-on switch that tells the cancer to grow.
And earlier drugs only hit the rarest form of the mutation.
Yeah.
The challenge was always hitting the most common ones, G12D, G12R, and G12V.
If you can target those three, you cover almost every advanced pancreatic cancer patient. And that's what this new global trial is testing with a drug called daraxonrasib.
And the mechanism is it's so unique. It's not a direct blocker. Our sources describe it as a molecular glue.
A molecular glue.
Yeah. It binds to a helper protein and essentially glues that protein right onto the active RAS switch, jamming the signal completely.
So you aren't forcing your way in. You're using the cell's own parts to create a roadblock.
Exactly. It's an oral, once-daily treatment, and it's potentially bringing effective, targeted therapy to a disease that has seen very few major advancements in decades.
That same theme of precision is completely changing autoimmunity. Let's talk about myasthenia gravis, or MG. It's a disease that causes terrible muscle weakness.
And the standard older treatments were broad immunosuppressants, like steroids. They just knocked down the entire immune system.
We needed precision.
We did. MG is caused by harmful antibodies produced by specific immune cells, plasma cells, that express a marker called BCMA.
So the cutting-edge approach is the Descartes-08 trial using mRNA chimeric antigen receptor, or CAR T-cell therapy. Now, we hear about CAR-Ts in cancer where it permanently edits the cells. This is different.
It's very different. This uses mRNA, which programs the T cells temporarily.
So I have to ask, why is temporary programming such a huge advantage? What risk does it get rid of for the patient?
It eliminates the risk of long-term unintended consequences. Think of it like permanent CAR T is installing a new operating system on your computer.
Okay.
Temporary mRNA CAR T is like setting a specific temporary security patch. It does its job, clears out the rogue cells, and then the programming just fades away. It massively reduces the long-term risk.
And the results show it works.
The results are amazing. In the Phase 2b trial, 57% of patients achieved minimal symptom expression, basically no symptoms, by month 6, and they stayed that way through month 12.
Wow.
This has huge implications for other autoimmune diseases like lupus.
And that idea of precision continues with rare genetic diseases like chronic granulomatous disease, or CGD.
Right. This is a rare inherited immune disorder where certain white blood cells just can't kill specific bacteria and fungi.
And this is where a technology called prime editing is being tested.
Prime editing is described in our sources as the most versatile and precise genome editing approach available. If older CRISPR was like molecular scissors cutting DNA,
Prime editing is more like a word processor.
exactly, it's like search and replace. You make subtle, targeted changes without that big double-strand cut, which reduces the risk of errors.
And the delivery is innovative too. It's an autologous approach,
Meaning they correct the patient's own stem cells in the lab before putting them back in.
which avoids all the risks of a traditional bone marrow transplant.
Exactly. No graft rejection, no graft versus host disease. The early results in 2 patients are being described as a functional cure. The main hurdle is really just a commercial one because the disease is so rare.
Our final segment focuses on innovative delivery and tackling conditions we thought were untreatable, starting with something affecting millions: long COVID fatigue.
Yeah, the deep dive included a major UK trial for long COVID. When researchers focused on that core symptom, the debilitating fatigue and post-exertional malaise,
Where even a small effort feels like running a marathon.
right, they realized they needed a specific biological target, and they found one.
A physical mechanism.
Yes. They found that even short walks caused abnormal changes in blood biomarkers. This strongly suggested a problem in the tiny blood vessels, the microvasculature.
So that finding guided the trial.
It did. They're testing drugs to reduce that inflammation or improve blood flow anticoagulants, anti-inflammatories. The trial's complete, and we're expecting the results in 2026. It could offer real, evidence-based answers for people who've been suffering for years.
Next, we have the incredibly novel NEST trial for chronic degenerative conditions. It uses stem cells from the patient's own bone marrow, but the delivery method is unique.
It really is. The stem cells are reintroduced via the bloodstream and through the nasal passages.
Through the nose. Why?
The hypothesis is that this allows them to bypass the blood-brain barrier and potentially reach the brain directly.
And the origin of this idea is just a fascinating story.
It is. It grew out of treating eye diseases.
Yeah.
Patients getting these stem cell treatments for their eyes started unexpectedly reporting neurological improvements,
Like better movement or speech.
or even being able to get out of a wheelchair. The therapy is showing remarkable quality of life gains for conditions like ALS, Alzheimer's, stroke, and chronic MS.
Finally, let's touch on the BRIA-ABC trial for metastatic breast cancer. This is for patients who have exhausted many other treatments.
The approach is combining a cell-based immunotherapy with an immune checkpoint inhibitor. But what really sets this trial apart, as the sources highlight, is its inclusivity.
Which is huge in cancer trials. Often the sickest patients are excluded.
Precisely. This trial welcomes people with all breast cancer subtypes, even those with brain metastases or extensive prior treatments. And they're using a real-world comparator arm, which makes the results far more clinically relevant for doctors and patients.
So those are the 11 trials set to define the next few years. We've covered a massive amount of ground.
We have. And if we synthesize it all, the data really confirms medicine is moving on 3 main fronts: precision, with tools like prime editing and the molecular glue,
Durability.
with that potential TB vaccine and the temporary CRT cell therapy, and finally, addressing previously intractable problems like long COVID.
And this progress means real changes for you, not just in complex care, but even in how common things like heart disease are diagnosed, with universal HSCRP screening.
Or just the relief for HIV patients to be able to take long breaks from their daily regimen.
It's truly remarkable progress.
It is indeed a fascinating time to watch science advance.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to mull over. Given the success of these autologous therapies correcting a patient's own cells, as we saw with CGD and the NEST trial, and the highly specific temporary programming of gene therapies like the mRNA, CAR-RT, how soon will this kind of individualized treatment, which avoids generalized immune suppression, become the standard first-line approach instead of just the treatment of last resort? Think about that as you consider the future of your own health.